Good morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Good Sabbath to you. It is the 18th day of Sivan. It is the Sabbath of Parsha Behalotka, and that is from Numbers 8:1 through Numbers 12:16. 19, excuse me. So here we are. It is what is often called the Microcosm of Torah in one Parsha. If you were to try to find a summation or a summary of what the entire Torah is about, you would be told or directed by the sages to Parsha Alotka. It sort of summarizes what life is like in the covenant and how mistakes can be made and hopefully rectified, as that case may be. It's a Parsha that discusses how we become mature representatives and leaders, elders as the case may be, who not only can prophesy, who can say spiritual stuff from time to time, but who actually can lead other people in the ways of Shalom, the ways of Torah, the ways of life. And that is the challenge of Parsha Behalotka. Welcome to you all from all over the world, from tuning in. Thank you for joining us and letting us be a part of your Shabbat or your post-Shabbat if you're way out in the Far East, like the Philippines, our friends out there, and also New Zealand and Australia. Tasmania, all the places in Indonesia, Malaysia. Thank you for joining in. South Africa, hello. And UAE, good to see you out there as well. Israel, always a pleasure to be with you. Europe, England, also the North American, South American, Central American continent. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, 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 and good Sabbath to all. So here we are, the microcosm, the sort of the patterns of what Torah is all about and what it's designed to teach us and how we're to work through our problems with the Holy One. This is, as I said, the 18th day of Sivan. We're in the middle of this month that follows the Ruach HaKodesh and the giving of the Torah. The experience of Shavuot has happened, and now we're having to live it out. So can you live out the experience of Pentecost, as some people want to call it? Can you live out and live it in real time? Can you deal with real situations without losing what was given to you? Either be it the Torah or be it the Ruach HaKodesh, but I don't think you can really separate the two ever, ever, ever. The Holy Spirit and the Torah are one and united, and they present themselves to you together. So that is our issue. If the Torah is presented to us in microcosm, what will it tell us? The name Behalotka, it's a tongue twister. I'll grant you that. It's a Hebrew tongue twister, Behalotka. And it means in your arising, in your ascending. It is often translated into English as when you light the lamps or something along those lines. But Behalotka has nothing, the words have nothing to do with lighting lamps. Now, that's what the context is going to be, and so translators tend to grab context and stick it into the first words, but that's not what happened. What this is about is in your arising, or in your ascending. When you get up and when you engage your world, when you participate in daily activities, in world intersections and interactions with people, marketplace, wherever, in your ascending, in your arising, what will be your impact? What will be the result? How will you leave the world? Will you leave it better for your being there? Or will you leave it more toxic than it was to begin with? Will you tell them what you think and what you feel? Or will you share with them the light of the Holy One? Will you share with them the love and the mercies and the compassions and the attributes of the Creator of the universe? Or will you just spew your opinion? Well, that's the issue. Spew and do. We sometimes call it. Are you going to spew and do, or are you going to live out your world, your covenant, the way you're supposed to live it? So this is the Parsha, the appointed time, the season of arising. Arising to ascend, to get up higher, to go to a higher level. The context of the first aliyah of this Parsha is that, indeed, in your arising, the Holy One tells Moshe to tell Aaron, in your arising, in your ascending, you are to do certain things. And it's going to have to do in the Peshat, in the natural, visible, tangible, first ways of looking at it. It's going to have to do with the lamps of the menorah in the holy place of the tabernacle, and the morning and evening service, particularly the morning service of Aharon. But I told you this is a microcosm. Just as this parsha is a microcosm of the entire Torah, so it is this aliyah. And this story is a microcosm of the entire parsha. And so now the issue is, if we went beyond the shot, if we went beyond the issue of the surface level of interpretation, and we're not just talking about Aaron, and we're not just talking about the lamp of the menorah, the 7 lamps of the menorah in the tabernacle, if we're not just talking about a past event and some circumstance that had to do with people in the desert thousands of years ago, what if he's talking about us when we arise and when we ascend? And what then would be the remez? What would be the hinted levels of the lamps? What would be the hinted levels of the menorah? What would be the hinted levels of Aharon? What would it be hinting to? What would the remez level of interpretation be? What would the drash, the levels of teaching and instruction and application, practical application, be to us? That's the next stage that we should go through as we look for this parsha, this story in microcosm, the Torah presented in microcosm through this parsha. Well, let me just talk about arising first of all. I hope the words "your arising" mean something to you, that you feel a tug on your heart. You feel a tug on your eternal spirit. In your arising, you are destined, you are designed, you are created to arise, to transcend, to come above your present circumstances, your present attitude, your present way of looking at life, your present way of dealing with life, your present level of influence. And you're called to arise. So let's kind of look at some parshas, some scripture that might tie us into this remez vision of what arising, what your arising might be. I want you to remember Isaiah 60. Arise and shine. These are not just nice words. This is a divine, strategic call of the creator of the universe through his prophet Yeshayahu, named Isaiah in the English world, to arise and to shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Holy One has risen upon you. All the nations walk in thick darkness, but they will arise and come to your light. This is what he's going to say. Now, right before that, I encourage you always, when you know a scripture like that, and it's very important to you, go back and read the previous scripture with the end of the last chapter. That was Isaiah 60, verse 1. So you want to go back to look at the last verse of chapter 59 to see what the context is, because there were no chapter divisions when this revelation was given. So what's the last part of parsha of Isaiah 59? I'm going to have to dig it up on my computer a second. You can look for it on yours as we're going. I want to go to Isaiah 59. And of course, there's quite a context there, but I want to take you down to the very last verse, which it precedes 60, verse 1. The last verse of Isaiah 59, verse 21, is the Holy One speaking before he calls you to arise and shine. And here's what he says. As for me, says the Holy One, this is my covenant with them. My spirit, my ruach, who is upon you, and my words, which I have put in your mouths, will not depart from your mouth, nor from the mouth of your descendants, your seed, nor from the mouth of your descendants' descendants, your seed's seed, says the Holy One, from this time and forevermore, arise and shine. Now, do you get the context of this? The Holy One is telling you, you just had a Pentecost, folks. You just received a level of the inspiration, not only the Spirit, but also the words, the Torah that has been given to you. You have been in this Pentecost mode. Now, arise and shine, and understand this, that I have put my words in your mouth. They are not to depart from them, nor from the mouth of your seed, nor from the mouth of the seed that your seed generate from this time forth or forevermore. Arise and shine, for your light has come. That is your light. And the glory of the Holy One has risen upon you. Now, with that being our basic concept, I think you can now get to Daniel chapter 12. Let's get to Daniel 12 and look at our arising. Daniel 12:1. At that time, Michael, known in English as Michael, Michael will stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of your people. And there will be a time of trouble, such as has never been, since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time your people will be delivered, and every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting shame and contempt. But those who are wise will shine. Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the firmament. And those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. So this is the call of the Holy One unto you, to your arising. If you want to take it in the New Testament, if you want to take it to Yeshua, Messiah, he's going to say, let your light so shine before men that they see your mitzvot, they see your good works of Torah, and what do they do with it? And give glory to the Holy One, your God, not to you, not to your righteousness, not to your sense of ministry, but to the Holy One, your God, to your Father who is in heaven. All right, so these are the issues of the arising and shining, the arising call. This is a part of our ascending, arising, getting higher, going up. Trying to get my computer to respond to me here. Hello, you're there. Now, if you want to see this at another level of the New Testament, the book of Revelation, this whole idea of someone going up to the lamps, going up among the lampstands, fine-tuning the light of the various lamps of the lampstand. What you see, picture in your mind Yeshua in Revelation chapters 1, 2, and 3. The Master, the risen, the ascended Messiah, speaking to the Kehilot of the diaspora. This is the first generation of the diaspora. This is the beginnings of the sending out, people being sent out in the world. The holy people being sent out into all the four corners of the world, all the nations and places of the world, all the wildernesses of the world. And into that context, he begins to speak, and he begins to fine-tune each of the Kehilot, each of the lamps, each of the ways in which we interact with the world. And he begins to clean out some stuff. There are some things that he mentions that need to be removed. There are some things he mentions that need to be brightened, things that need to be brought back into a high level of intensity. So the 7 letters to the 7 Kehilot of the diaspora are referenced here. How are they supposed to respond? They're supposed to arise, and they're supposed to shine, and so are we. All right, I want to remind you the final words of Parsha Naso last week. The last words of Parsha Naso were, and when Moshe, number 7, verse 89. This is before we left Sinai. This is after the bringing of all the tribes brought their presentations for use in the tabernacle. And it says, summary verse, and when Moshe went into the tabernacle of meeting to speak with him, being the Holy One, he heard, in Hebrew, et hachol, which is the ultimate superlative voice. When Moshe went into the tabernacle to meet with the Holy One, he heard the ultimate superlative, beautiful voice, et hachol. He heard him speaking to him from above the mercy seat, the kaperet, that was on the ark of the testimony, and thus he spoke, he debarred, he He buzzed. He made the buzzing sound of a bee. He activated things within him. That's to speak to him in that regard. He didn't just immore to him. He debarred to him. From between the two cherubim. Now that's a beautiful verse. We see this picture of Moshe. It's like we saw Aaron going up into the tabernacle, into the place where the Mishkan was, and into the place where the menorah was. And now we see Moshe. Before that, we see him going in the tabernacle, and we see this picture of him actually speaking to the Creator of the universe, and the Creator's voice becoming everything to Moshe. It's like drowning out all of the noises. The voice of the Creator speaking was et hacho, the ultimate superlative sound that he could possibly listen to. The all-consuming sound was coming into Moshe's life, into his heart. And so he began to debar. It began to be a buzz, and it began to buzz. It was contagious. The power of the Holy One's voice, the Holy One's words, but his voice, the majesty of his person that went with his voice, began to just stir and buzz in Moshe, and that was the key to all facets of what Moshe was going to do. Now, warning. With that verse, and the next verse, talking about Aharon going into the tent of meeting and the menorah, we are about to exit the beauty realm. We have been in the beauty realm for months at Sinai. We have been focusing on the tabernacle. We've been focusing upon the voice of the Holy One. But we are about to leave the beauty realm, and this parsha, we will do so. We will leave the place of Sinai, and we're going to go out into the wilderness. We're going to start on our mission trek, the destiny march, where we're going to our land of promise and our ultimate deployment. When we're going there, we're going to leave. Now, the question is, when we leave the beauty realm, no pressure, much, but the world just might be watching to see how you handle normal life once you leave the beauty realm. See whether it changed you. See how it affected you that you were hearing the voice of the Holy One. To see how it impacted you that you were in the place of ultimate light. To see how these things impacted you. Are you different because you've been in the presence? Or do you just walk in and out and like, oh, that was then, this is now. I behave this way on the earth with people who I don't like, with people who offend me, with people who do things that I disagree with. Or are you changed now? Does this change you? So all creation might be watching to see if you're going to burn up on re-entry. You leaving the beauty realm, or are you going to burn up and go up in a explosion of flames upon re-entry? Or are you actually going to take shalom with you? Take the buzzing energy of the voice of the Holy One with you? Are you going to let that be your North Star in regard to all interactions and all transactions and all intersections that you have, all challenges you face, all difficulties you deal with in this world? Will you keep the words of the Holy One in your mouth and the mouth of your children's children? Or will other words begin to enter into your mouth? You know where we're going with this if you read this parsha. You know this is going to be the challenge. The challenge is, what words will come out of your mouth? Will they be the words that I put into you, the Holy One would say? When you arise, when you go up and you go into the world, will the words that you speak be the words I put in your mouth? Or will they be the words that somebody else put in your mouth? The serpent, the whole idea of complaint and murmuring and negativity and accusation and gossip and lashon hara, negative speech in general, speech is focused on what's going to serve your purpose. What will be coming out of your mouth when you go into the wilderness? When you have to deal with real life situations, when you leave the beauty realm and you're supposed to be carrying the beauty realm of God into your world, but are you going to stick the landing? Or are you not? Well, we're going to find out in this week's parsha that nobody sticks the landing. We're gonna look through multiple characters. We're gonna see multiple characters here, from Moshe to Aharon to Miriam to Ruel or Hobab or Yitro, whichever one you want to call him, from the nation of Midian. We're going to see Yehoshua. He's going to be reintroduced to us. We're going to see the elders of Israel. We're going to see Medad and Eldad, two of the elders. We're going to see them speak, but we're going to see nobody stick the landing. And that also is part of the process. We're called to walk in humility and walk in light, and we need to understand that there are going to be some bumps along the way. And the things that are in us, the things that are part of us, are scary when they start coming out. And once they start coming out of us, the problem is it's not just us. Now we infect everybody around us. And what we say begins to be multiplied 100,000 times because the story just spreads. And the negativity of energy that we put forth just spreads. And what we do is we didn't realize how much impact we had until we saw it develop in front of our eyes. And we saw it infect everyone from the lowest of the newbies to the more established of those who've walked through a bunch of stuff with the Holy One, the Red Sea, the mountains of Sinai experience, all the way up to Yehoshua, the elder in training of the nation, up to Miriam, the prophetess and worship leader of the nation, up to Moshe, the leader, the prophet that we asked the Holy One to give us and that he gave to us. Everyone's going to be infected because nobody stopped the run of negativity. Nobody held on to the words the Holy One put in our mouths. Everyone adopted the words of the serpent. Everyone in our camps going, this is the way life is. Somebody's being called to arise. Some of us today are being called to get up, arise, get out of this repetition, this contagion syndrome, where everybody's speaking negatively, you're speaking negatively, you're thinking negatively, and so you keep talking negatively. Where's faith? Where are the words of the Holy One in that? Where is the personality of the Holy One in that? Well, let me give you this introduction. There are two immutable laws two immutable laws of national, cultural, ethnic strength, longevity, and productivity. In other words, two things determine how much a culture, a people, is going to impact its world. Two main things. And the first one is the quality of that nation or people or family's elders. How good your elders are. The elders of your family, the elders of your community, the elders of your country, the elders of your ethnicity. How good your elders are, that will determine the level of longevity and the societal impact that you have. So you better be real careful to make sure you got good elders. Because the quality of your elders is going to influence everything. And that elders is patriarchal and matriarchal. The ability of your elders to hold on to the words that the Holy One has put in you and the Spirit the Holy One has put upon you, that will determine how successful your nation will be, your culture will be, your family, your bloodline will be. That's the first immutable law of this productivity issue. The second one is the quality of a nation, people, or family's elders is measured by one thing. Well, I guess I'm going to qualify that as 5 things. The quality of your elders, which is going to determine how much longevity, strength, and productivity and influence you're going to have, is determined on its own self by 5 things. First of all, your elders' willingness to shema the voice of the Holy One and make it their et hakol, their ultimate superlative, the law of supremacy. You know, in America, American jurisprudence and law, for those of you who are not part of our country or those maybe who are, we have this rule that the federal overrides, it has the supremacy over the states. I'm not even sure whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. That's sort of a premise of law. The federal law supersedes the states. Now, certain areas are left to the states, and that's a good thing. But the federal law in general, if there was two groups who rule on the same issue, the federal rule is supreme. Now, I just throw that out to you to tell you that this is the way it's supposed to be in the kingdom, when the kingdom is the Holy One's voice is supposed to overrule anybody else's voice. I don't care what the politicians are saying. I don't care what the elected officials are saying. I don't care what the educators are saying. I don't care what the experts are saying. I don't care what the media is saying. I don't care what the celebrities are saying. I don't care what the doctors are saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? The law of supremacy says the one voice that controls all, that is the supreme voice, the Et HaKol, is the voice of the Holy One, and His word is what matters. Now, this is critical if you're going to have a nation with elders, male and female, patriarchal and matriarchal, that learn that no matter what is being said by who around the world, or how many degrees they may have, or how much influence, or how much following, or how many people follow them on Twitter, it doesn't make any difference. What matters is what is the Holy One saying. He wants to put His words in our mouth and put His Spirit upon us to speak them, those words, the way in which He would speak them, in the context in which He would speak them. First thing that determines the quality of a nation's elders, a family's elders, is, will we shema the voice of the Holy One? Second question, second issue, second determinant. Will we shamar, will we treasure, cherish, and guard, and carefully watch over His covenant? I'm taking this out of Exodus 19, 3 through 5. If you want to find the scripture for it, put a label to it. But here, he said, this is shema my voice and shamar my covenant. You don't do that, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. Shamar my covenant. Treasure my covenant. Treasure the things I told Abraham. The promises I made, but the conditions I required. I required him to leave stuff behind. I required him to learn to listen and not to speak so much. And that process of learning how to shema the voice and shamar the covenant. How do we treasure the covenant? This is the standard. The Torah is the standard by which we review every situation. To shamar His covenant means what He said and the way He put down the instructions matter more than what our culture tells us. What our generation tells us is important. His words are that we shamar, we treasure His covenant because we shamar His voice. Third thing, to build, to make, to do, to form, to shape, to bring life to His mitzvot, His instructions for living. Every one by one. Find a way to implement this in your life. This is your mission. You have a job. It's like a treasure hunt. But your job is to find a way to implement every mitzvah of Torah in real time in your world. Arise and shine. This is a proof that you have the words of the Holy One in your mouth, and you have His Spirit upon your life. So the third thing is the asah, to make, do the mitzvot of the Torah. The fourth one is to soak in and absorb, then maintain and exude. Soak in, absorb, maintain, and exude. 4 levels. Soak in. Soak in and absorb and maintain and exude the Holy One's characteristics. First of all, His favor characteristics, that we are to be moved and operate by His favor characteristics, not His judgment characteristics. Mercy triumphs over judgment. There are judgment characteristics. No one denies that. No one would doubt that. But first comes mercy. Always first comes mercy, and only He decides when you change the focus from mercy to judgment. So to focus on the Holy One's attributes, to soak in them, first of all, we must receive His mercy. When we deserve judgment, we need to be able to learn how to soak in and absorb His mercy, because if we don't have it, we can't give it. If we have not received it, we cannot dispense it. And we will try to walk in judgment. We will try to walk in criticism. We will try to walk in complaint. We will try to walk in all sorts of negative energy. But if we let His favor flow over us, and we soak in it, and we absorb it, then we can learn to maintain it under all sorts of circumstances and challenges, and exude it into every situation we face. This is going to determine whether or not we are elders of the Holy One or not. Second thing is His kedusha. Not only His favor do we need to soak in and absorb and maintain and exude. We need to soak in and absorb His kedusha, His holiness. This is His majesty factor, His beauty factor. We need to be so filled with His beauty, so filled with His majesty, so filled with all the things and attached to the things that He calls holy. The Sabbath, the festivals, the Torah, the Messiah, the Spirit, the Ruach. We should be so attached to these. These are our priority factors, the holiness factors. So we soak in them. We soak. We call them to mind. We call them to mouth. We speak of them out in our times of meditation. These are the things we speak about. So we do this, and this is the way in which we keep His Kedusha. We soak in it. We absorb it. We maintain it. And then we are able to exude it. And then there's Shalom. To absorb, to soak in His Shalom. You can tell when I have not been soaking